My name is William, and today we stand before the Great Sphinx with a question that refuses to sleep. Beneath this guardian, is there a hidden chamber, or only echoes carved by rock and story? People have long whispered of sealed rooms and a hall of records that might rewrite Egypt. Let us walk between legend and evidence and see why the reality is more interesting than the myth. The Sphinx sits in a hollow cut from bedrock, ringed by walls whose layers read like pages of geology. Its body shows many phases of repair, and a small temple lies between the pores. Around the monument are fissures, blocks, and shafts from centuries of work. Some limestone is soft, other layers hard. Stone does not weather evenly, and gaps appear where nature pushes and people intervene. So where did the whispers start? Partly from the mood of the place, partly from tales that speak of hidden wisdom guarded by a lion, and partly from instruments that hint at voids near the pores and chest. Words like void and anomaly often melt into certainty in the public imagination. But what do they mean on the ground? Survey teams have used non-intrusive tools on the plateau. Seismic soundings listen for reflections from buried layers. Ground-penetrating radar maps contrast in moisture and density. Microgravity reveals tiny changes in mass underfoot. These methods have flagged areas that look different from the stone around them. Some lie beside the monument, some beneath its enclosure. A few appear to run toward the pores, but the secrets behind this legend might surprise you. A contrast in the data does not equal a chamber full of scrolls. Sand-filled fissures can mimic passages. Ancient drainage cuts can resemble corridors. Modern restoration trenches can read as neat lines underground. In a landscape worked across millennia, the ground is a tapestry, not a simple diagram. There is also the matter of access. The Sphinx contains small, internal spaces known to conservators, cut for inspection and repair. They are narrow, rough, and strictly practical. Nothing about them suggests a library of cosmic wisdom. The same is true of many shafts and pits across the Giza field. Some were cut for burials, others for quarrying or ritual purpose. When you descend, you meet dust and hard rock, not gilded doors. Still, one claim keeps returning. The Hall of Records, a storehouse of knowledge said to rest beneath the Sphinx. The story is powerful because it offers a single key to many locks, yet no inscription from pharaonic times describes such a hall. And no artifact points to a hidden archive below the monument. The idea is a modern graft upon an ancient trunk, and it thrives because mystery is fertile soil. Even so, we should not swing to the other extreme. There may indeed be voids under parts of the enclosure. Nature makes chambers when water moves through limestone. Builders cut channels to carry away bursts of rain. Later teams dug trenches and filled them again. Any of these could lie beneath us. A small space is not a scandal. It is a lesson in how a site grows through time, so what would reveal a genuine man-made room? First, geometry that refuses to follow the grain of the rock. Second, an entrance line that fits the logic of the Sphinx temple and causeway. Third, tool marks and masonry that do not match later repair. Without those, anomaly remains a question mark in the sand. Here is the part I find most compelling. The Sphinx already holds records, just not in a vault. They are on its weathered skin. In the notes of ancient restorers, in quarry saws that show how workers cut and move stone, and in tiny traces of pigment that once colored the face. Read those records with patience. They tell of devotion, labor, erosion, and renewal. The secrets beneath the Sphinx may never resolve into a single revelation, but the reality is more fascinating than a sealed door. It is a dialogue between rock, climate, engineering, and faith. The mystery remains, and that is no failure. It is the fuel that keeps us looking, asking, and learning. Soon we will follow one more thread that may change how you picture what lies below. Let us return to the Sphinx and keep our questions sharp. If a man-made chamber exists beneath the monument, how could we prove it with confidence? And what evidence would rise above a suggestive scan? First, triangulation. One instrument can mislead, three that agree can persuade. Seismic pulses should echo a clean boundary. Ground radar should outline the same shape from a different view. Microgravity should register a drop in density in exactly that footprint. When depth, width, and orientation line up across methods, a real void is likely. Yet a void alone is not a secret room. We must still decide whether nature carved it or builders did. Second, pattern. Human spaces tend to follow intention. They align with nearby axes, keep workable heights, and offer a practical route in and out. Natural cavities are irregular, turn with the grain of the rock, and rarely present a sensible entrance. If the map looks like a room, we ask where the door would be, how a passage could be cut without harm, and why a chamber would sit in that exact place within the sacred layout. Third, care. The Sphinx is a fragile patient. Any test that shakes stone, shifts water, or loosens joints risks harm that cannot be undone. A responsible plan manages drainage, vibration, and crowd pressure before a single block is touched. History complicates the reading. The enclosure has been filled and cleared many times. A shaft cut in one period might be buried in the next, then rediscovered and patched later. Conservators also created small routes for inspection. Scans today may register those lines along with natural fissures. The ground is a layered manuscript rather than a single sentence. So what would a finding really mean? Consider reasonable outcomes. One is a drainage gallery to steer storm water away from the body. Another is a short service passage for viewing joints or adding mortar. A third is a small ritual cavity used for foundation rites or for setting symbolic items. Any of these would matter, even if they do not deliver a dramatic library beneath the pores. The secrets behind this legend might surprise you in a quieter way. Patient study already yields new knowledge. Grain size in the bedrock explains weathering that some call flood damage. Tool marks separate ancient chisels from modern patching. Flecks of pigment show that the Sphinx once wore color. These findings live in daylight, not behind a hidden door, and they change the story all the same. There is also an ethical side. Great heritage belongs to many hands. Choices about drilling, opening, or leaving closed should weigh the judgment of conservators and the voices of nearby communities. The most thrilling television moment may not be the wisest choice for the monument. Where does that leave us as seekers? Ask the bold question, then test it with sober tools. Welcome wonder, then let method prune it. Hold several ideas at once and keep the most extraordinary on the longest leash. Imagine that a doorway is finally proven, its geometry clean and deliberate. The careful path would still be slow. Start with a pinhole, send in a lens, control the air, and touch nothing until conditions are safe. If objects lie inside, conservation comes before headlines. The tale of the discovery is told by a calm sequence of steps designed to keep the past alive for the future. In the end, the Sphinx teaches a hard lesson. Some mysteries are answered not by a single reveal, but by the steady craft of looking and listening. The Guardian has endured because most of its secrets were allowed to breathe, and because people chose to repair rather than to force. So we close where we began, with a question under stone. Is there a hidden chamber? Perhaps there are small ones shaped by water, or cut by hands with modest aims. Perhaps there is only layered ground that invites the eye to see corridors where none were intended. Either way, the search has value. It brings us closer to how the monument was carved, how it weathered, how it was cherished, and why it still holds the traveler who rounds the corner and meets its gaze.